Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing another which one is better, which is my favorite type of video to do here on my channel. And I have done several of these at this point, so I will have my playlist linked down below. So how I typically do this is I would choose two books that have some sort of similar plot, and then obviously I will read both of them, and then I will let you guys know which one I thought was better and why. I have done this a couple of times where I've just read like multiple books by the same author and told you guys which one I thought was better, but I really like to do it where the books are written by two totally different authors, but they have some sort of similar plot. Those are what I strive for. But how we would do this today, like I have done in all of the other videos, is I will tell you which books I'm talking about if you haven't picked that up from the title already, and I will give you guys a brief synopsis on each of the books. In this one, I will do it slightly different because I want to give you guys some of the similarities and differences between the two books, and then I will tell you guys which one I thought was better and why. So we will go ahead and get started. So getting started off, the two books that I'm going to be talking about is The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth and The Bone Maker by Beth Durst. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Bone Maker. So in this story, we had 5 people who defeated this guy by the name of Eklor 25 years ago. They defeated him, they believed that he was dead, and all was going to be well in their world again. Now, 25 years later, there are some signs that show that Eklor might have returned. And so in this book, they are trying to figure out, this group of people, this group of 5, they are trying to figure out whether or not they want to try and defeat this guy yet again, or let some other people come in and do what they apparently couldn't do back then. We also have this bit of a side plot with this character by the name of Kriya. And in this world, people have bone magic. Not everybody, but certain people have bone magic. And the 5 people that defeated Eklor, they all have different abilities using bones that they were able to contribute into defeating him. And so Kriya in particular, she is called a bone maker. And what she is able to do is she is able to take different types of bones and make like these constructs or bring inanimate objects to life. And so during their fight with Eklor 25 years ago, her husband Gent was actually killed. He was part of the 5, but he unfortunately lost his life. But Kriya has the ability to bring him back to life using her bone magic. And this is the same thing that Eklor had did like 25 years ago. The only thing with bringing Gent back is that it takes time off of her life. So if she brings him back for like a day, it'll take a day off of her life. But now that she is trying to bring him back permanently, that's obviously going to take a lot of time off of her life. So we are following these characters as they are trying to figure out what to do about the possibility of Eklor coming back, and then Kriya learning more about her magic and trying to bring her husband Gent back. So then in The Chosen Ones, we have 5 people who 10 years prior was able to defeat this bad person that was called the Dark One. And so once again, we have these people who felt like they did their job and the Dark One has been destroyed. But there have slowly been signs that this person might be back. And so these 5 people have been summoned to figure out what these occurrences are that are taking place, see if they are related to the Dark One. And if they are, they have to figure out whether or not they are willing to risk their lives yet again to defeat the Dark One again. So both of those books are very similar. They both have very, very similar plots. So we are, in both books, we're dealing with a group of 5 people that have been chosen to like defeat this Dark One. Then we learn slowly throughout like each of these books that all of these people, so it's like 10 people, all of these people have experienced some sort of trauma. So in The Chosen Ones, we have some of the group of 5 that have experienced like PTSD. We have some of them that have experienced like turning to drugs to cope with their experience of trying to fight the Dark One. And then we also have some of those people who chose not to talk about their experiences and keep it all closed in. Then in the Bone Maker, some of the trauma that they experience also was like PTSD. We have some people that are dealing with grief, and then we have some people whose magic have basically turned them crazy. So they've like kept all of their magic inside, I believe, and not found a way to release it. And so it basically turned them crazy. So in both of these books, we have people trying to cope with their experiences of dealing with the Dark One, Eklor, in different ways. So the main difference between both of these books is that in The Bone Maker, it takes place in a complete fantasy world, whereas The Chosen Ones, it takes place in our world with like some magical elements. And then the other big difference between the two books is that in The Bone Maker, after these people had defeated Eklor, they all sort of went their separate ways. They didn't keep in touch. Whereas in The Chosen Ones, they actually kept in touch. I think two of them are like living together. Two of them got into a relationship. And so everybody remained friends, whereas that was not the case in The Bone Maker. So out of both of these books, the one that I liked better was The Bone Maker. I gave it 3 stars, whereas with The Chosen Ones, I DNF'd it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start with the one that I did not like, and obviously the one that I DNF'd, which is Chosen Ones. And I hesitated with whether or not I wanted to film this video because I did DNF this one, but I got far enough into the book to where I felt like I could accurately talk about it. So some of the things that I did like in this book was that it's told in the present tense, or we have a present timeline, but we get some like mixed media formats, like letters and interviews and that sort of thing, where it describes what happened back in the day when these people defeated the Dark One. So we learn, or we start to learn, how they all got together, which was through a prophecy. So this woman prophesizes, and she said that these 5 people are going to be the one to defeat the Dark One for everyone. You learn the events that took place during that dark time, and actually Sloane, the main character in this book, she is the one that is looking into this information because she wants to know why they were actually prophesized to be the one to defeat the Dark One. I also liked how it talked about all of the 5 characters' trauma that they experienced. It did not go into depth about each of them, but it did specifically go into depth about Sloane. Again, she was more of the main character, although she was not the leader of the group. But it also talked about Albie. These 2 were actually kidnapped by the Dark One at a certain point, and they were the ones that suffered the most after the fall of the Dark One. So I really like that we got some insight into that. But where this book lost me, and the reason why I had to DNF it, was because it was so slow. Not much was happening. I did appreciate us getting some background into what happened back then, but it was slow moving. It was slow going. And I also just really wished that we could have gotten some insight into how all of them had dealt with the trauma. I just thought that was really interesting because, you know, we learned that one of them turned to drugs after the events of what happened. Sloane in particular, she was dealing with a lot of PTSD and having like flashbacks of what happened. And then, you know, we have one of them that was like really closed off and didn't want to talk about their problems. But then we didn't really get too much insight on the other characters. Now, that might have changed had I kept going with the book, but from where I was, I just felt like we didn't get enough of that. I also thought by the time that I hit part 2, the story really slowed down and it slightly got confusing because there was like mention of like a multiverse and them trying to explain it. And I just didn't like that. And also in this world, I mentioned how it takes place in our world, in our time, but there's like magical elements. In this world, magic isn't used by everyone. It was used by the Dark One. That's why he was able to kill a lot of people and do the things that he did. It wasn't really explained in, as the story goes on, they're trying to explain magic and how magic is used and how certain people can use magic and other ones can't. But it did not interest me. I was slightly confused by their magic, and it just wasn't moving fast enough to tell me why like some people can use it, why some people can't. And my biggest problem with this is just that everything moves so slow. I don't know at one point this is going to pick up, but I got about halfway, I want to say I was a slightly over 200 pages and nothing really had happened. I just could not stick with this one, and unfortunately I had to DNF it. So then moving back to the Bone Maker and why I chose this one as the better of the two is because one of the things I really liked about this one is the magic system. Now, it's not necessarily unique. Now, had I not read another book that dealt with bone magic, which is The Bone Shard Daughter, I would have thought that this book did something totally out there, because before reading that book, I had never read anything dealing with bone magic. But since I picked this one up, even though I really did like the magic, it just didn't feel like anything special to me. But I had mentioned before that Kriya was able to use her magic. She was considered a bone maker. So she was able to use her magic to make these constructs or bring inanimate objects back to life, or in her case, also bring her husband back to life. And we also have something that is called a bone wizard, and bone wizards are able to take bones and give them the ability to then give another person like special abilities, and they're called talismans. So you're able to like move faster, have more strength. In certain cases in here, they were able to somewhat kind of fly. And then we also have something that's called a bone reader. So for these people, they are able to look at some bones and determine what the future is going to be. So I really just liked the magic system. And I also liked how we didn't get like these huge info dumps into their magic system. Everything was like slowly revealed throughout the story, and you just got more and more information. So I also really liked the characters. I loved this group of 5. So I really liked Kriya and how she was just a strong leader, and she really struggled throughout this story with how to better lead her group, because she is so used to like taking charge and being the one to make all of the decisions for the group. But at a certain point in here, she had to like kind of learn to let go and learn to trust the decisions and judgments of her teammates. I also really liked the character of Zara. She was hilarious to me. She was very dramatic and over the top, but she is also somebody that really cared about these people that she worked with. She was one of the people that kind of made sure she knew where everybody was. I had already mentioned that these people in this particular story did not keep in touch after the events of them defeating Eklor, but Zara was the one to make sure she knew where everybody was located and made sure that everybody was okay, but she kept all the information to herself. The only thing that I really did not enjoy about this story was I just felt like the ending dragged after everything had taken place and we figured out what was going on and they did their thing. It just felt like the ending added on an extra like 10, 15, 20 pages that it did not need. And so it just kind of brought my enjoyment down. But I really did like this story. I would highly recommend this one. This is my first book by Beth Durst, and there is a fantasy series. The name is escaping me right now, but I'm really looking forward to reading more from her because this was a great introduction into her work. So I'm really happy that I went ahead and checked out both of these books. I had actually heard good things about both of these. Unfortunately, the chosen ones just didn't work out in the way that I wanted it to, but I'm happy that I really enjoyed The Bone Maker. So I will leave my playlist link down below in case you guys are interested in checking out other videos like this one, but I will see you guys next time. Bye.